Welcome to Your Money with Leo Daprile. I'm Leo Daprile, and each week on AM 570, Dan Rivers and I will talk about anything and everything to do with your money. If you ever have questions, please feel free to call me at 330-533-6936, or you can email me at leo@gemyoung.com. Enjoy the show.
This episode of Your Money with Leo Daprile is sponsored by Grange Insurance.
Time for Your Money, brought to you by Gem Young Wealth Advisors. Gem Young Wealth Advisors in Star Center Court in Canfield. Here is the man, Leo Daprile. Good morning, Leo.
Good morning, Dan. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you very much. Good to have you along. We're going to talk about something that is deadly serious, and that is long-term unemployment today, right?
Yeah, that's starting to creep up a little bit. You know, this pandemic's been going on, and we haven't really talked about that. You know, we haven't talked about the implications of what longer-term unemployment means to people. And that's starting to creep up. We talk longer-term unemployment, and there's a difference between longer-term unemployment and long-term unemployment. So let me just make sure that's the distinction. When you get to 15 to 26 weeks of unemployment, that's when it's considered longer-term. So we're starting to enter that phase. Once we cross over 6 months, then we get into the long-term unemployment figure. So nobody's really surprised that the longer-term unemployment number has jumped the way it has. And there's lots of reasons for it. You know, there's the travel and leisure industry. If you look at the earnings that have been coming out, they're just getting crushed. And people just aren't going to hotels. And, you know, Dan, I was traveling last weekend, and I went by what used to be a very empty RV park that was full. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of these, I don't want to say the entry-level jobs, but a lot of, if you're working in the travel or leisure industry, think about, you know, the example I'll give is think about the hotel industry and how many people it takes to run, clean a hotel, serve food in a hotel, all those, and the hotel's operating at 20% of capacity. That's where I think a core in those types, and there's some manufacturing sectors going through the same challenges where things are still beginning to ram up. So there's some concentrated areas that are really struggling, and that's why I think this longer-term unemployment is going to be a nag and potentially a drag on the economy for a while.
Yeah, you think about this, that you can see that FedEx and the delivery companies, all these folks out there, they're working 6 and 7 days a week, and a lot of that money has shifted to that kind of thing. But I just can't imagine that anybody that's in the travel business right now is having a good day, because, like, even you just mentioned that the travel parks and the vans and stuff like that, people have rented those instead of a hotel, right? People are a little bit afraid to go into a hotel for fear that there may be the spread of the virus.
Dan, I was riding my motorcycle on Sunday, and what surprised me is I passed more RVs than I think I did motorcycles.
Boy, that's something, huh? Yeah, I mean, and I know that I see some of them parked around town now, and people are using those. Did you ever go out to Sturgis, Leo?
I did.
Yeah. I was reading last night. I was reading a story out there that the Buffalo Chip. They had who did they have out there? They had a pretty well-known band. They did a song called "Walking on the Sun," and people were all crammed in together, kind of thumbing their nose at COVID. Boy, and people are saying that has a chance to be a super spreading area.
Well, I was there for the 75th anniversary, and there was 1 million motorcycles there. Over 1 million motorcycles. This year, they're expecting 250,000. And one thing about Sturgis, it's a lot more spread out than you give it credit for. For instance, where we stayed 26 miles outside of Sturgis in a place called Lead. There is a concentration in Sturgis, but it's so spread out. So it's not like 250,000 people just descend into downtown Sturgis. You're going to get several thousand people going to the Buffalo Chip or the Full Throttle Saloon, because those are the big attraction places. But people motor around all over, so I know it gets reported at 250,000, which is half of what's normally there on a standard year anyhow. And like I said, people stay 30, 40 miles around the perimeter of Sturgis.
So it's a place that is spread out as much as from Boardman to Austintown in a lot of ways, huh? Or even further.
You could go to Sturgis and ride your motorcycle and not even talk to anybody if that's what you chose to do.
Okay, got it. So this is kind of the only big gathering that I can recall that we have had. They are defying the disease and going forth. Obviously, you didn't go there this year, and I don't know out of great caution or not.
I thought about it, and I had the opportunity to go, and I just thought, I'm the practical guy, Dan. I said, this isn't the year to do something like that. Yeah. There'll be other years where things will be safer and easier to go to, but not this year.
Yeah. You sent me a statistic here, too, that is interesting. You said that the longer you're out of work, the harder it is to regain employment. And a couple of things out there. What comes to mind on the reasons that happens there?
Well, I think some people, and this is the human nature. There used to be a book out there, and it's called Who Moved My Cheese? Mm-hmm. And the story, the quick story of the book is it's about a mouse looking for its cheese, and then the cheese moved, but the mouse kept continuing to go in the same pattern and eventually dying because there was no cheese in the same pattern. I think when there's long-term unemployment, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, the industry or sector where the person's lost their job from simply may not be coming back anymore. And I think people need to look, if they've been unemployed, if they're in this 15 to 26-week period, I think they got to start saying, okay, maybe it's time to start learning other skills that I may not have. Maybe it's time I start looking for other industries, for other opportunities. Because think of this, Dan, go back to February of this year. February of this year, we had unemployment under 4%, which means from an economic perspective, 4% or less unemployment is considered full employment, right? So right now, we're not that far removed when we didn't have enough workers. So there's a lot of companies out there that are growing still that need workers. I talked to one of my clients yesterday. In the last month, they've hired 5 people. So I think if you're unemployed, you have to be prepared to reinvent yourself. You have to be prepared to start looking at industries maybe you didn't before, especially industries that are growing. It's a lot easier to get a job these days, even if you don't have all the skill sets, and companies are willing to train you because they need a stronger, longer-term workforce. So I think that's one of the things we can help people with that are in those areas to help them shift.
Yeah, and I would, along the same lines you're talking about the travel and leisure industry, I think that those are industries that will eventually come back once we find the vaccine. Would you agree with that? So, those jobs, people are not going to stop leisure. It's just being put off for maybe 6 months, maybe even a year yet.
Exactly, and I agree. I think they're coming back. I agree with you on that. But to your point, what if it takes a year to come back? There's a lot of house payments and utility bills and grocery bills that need to be paid between now and then.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the president actually giving unemployment out here with an executive order?
I think he's forcing everybody to the table. And I think it's interesting that neither side's willing to reach a deal. And part of me worries that the reason for that is if they don't make a deal, then the economy starts to look worse, and that becomes a political advantage. So that's my concern of what's going on, and that's why it's been dug in. So I think this executive order was his way of saying, look, if you guys don't come with a deal, I'll do this, even if you're going to fight me on it. But now you have to turn and fight me on me trying to help the American people, since you guys won't.
We really have a tough way to dig out, don't we? Because it just so happens that there's a presidential race going on while we have this COVID going on, and I just think people would act differently if we weren't dealing with the presidential race right now, because the Democrats are not willing to give President Trump any kind of consideration, and anything that would make him look better. If you didn't have this race going on, the actions of the Congress may be different at this time.
It scares me that it's become this polarizing, and it's scaring me that people are willing to economically hurt people for the political advantage. Maybe, Dan, it's been this way for quite some time, but it just hasn't come out this way. Mm-hmm. But it's really coming out, in my opinion, in an ugly way of saying this is what we're willing to do for power.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah. Now, finally, the level of long-term unemployment is below those numbers of 07 and 09. What does that mean to you, if anything?
That tells me in 07 and 09, this is where we had widespread, more severe unemployment, because companies were literally just closing up because of all the excesses that we had. Look at the building industry, for instance, how that just blew up, and it's 10 years later. almost 12 years later, and we're still recovering to highs we haven't gotten to there yet because of all those excesses. So, I think as we continue to come out of this, since we didn't have an economy or a recession of excesses, we've had a pandemic. I think this whole thing's going to play out different. And to your point, once we get the vaccine, Dan, I think a lot of things that are struggling, really struggling, people are going to continue to gain confidence in.
All right, very well. Well, Leo, let's talk a little bit about what you do at Gem Young Wealth Advisors.
Sure. Well, we're a family business that does business with individuals and families that need comprehensive risk management for their wealth and their assets. That's a guiding theme of how we run this company. We provide our professionalism, our get it done right attitude, so that we can help people accomplish their goals, especially with the wealth management. We add an extra layer of that where we work with our clients so that they aspire to a work optional lifestyle. And we've built systems and processes, and we've refined those over time to help folks get there.
Very well. All right. A family business doing business with individuals and families that need comprehensive risk management for their wealth and assets. Leo Daprile is with us here this morning. You're going to find them in Canfield, Star Center Drive. Just search Gem Young and you'll get there. GemYoung.com, insurance and wealth advisors. He works with his son Stephen, and they can provide good, comprehensive health advice for you if that's what you choose. Leo, one more time for the number and the email.
You can call me at 330-533-6936, or you can email me at leo@gemyoung.com.
Nice to talk to you again, and that's Leo Daprile, always giving us good counsel every morning.